Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Harrison-Pless. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, Jacob Zuma gets a grilling. The South African leader will be questioned by his party's Integrity Commission amid ongoing corruption allegations. This as ratings agency Fitch downgrades its outlook for the country's economy to negative. And I'll have the latest from our correspondent in just a few moments. Leaders from the world's French-speaking nations gather in Madagascar for the 16th Francophonie summit, with security, climate change and Donald Trump topping the agenda. And mourners in the Ashanti Kingdom of Ghana don red and black to mark the passing of the Queen Mother. Nana Afia Kobi Sewa Ampem II died at the age of 111. But first up, Jacob Zuma in the hot seat. The South African leader is set to face a grilling by the ANC's Integrity Commission amid a slew of corruption scandals and the party's poor showing at the polls during recent local elections. But the move could deepen divisions at the ANC, where several senior members have already called on Zuma to step down. Meanwhile, credit ratings agency Fitch has dropped its outlook for the struggling South African economy from stable to negative, citing the country's political turmoil as a major driver of the downgrade. Growth in South Africa has plunged to just 0.5%, while unemployment has soared to a 13-year high. Well, for more on this, let's bring in our correspondent, Jane Flanagan. She's in Cape Town for us. Jane, a very good evening to you. Let's start by, if you could just tell us a bit more on why exactly the ANC is dragging Zuma before the party's Integrity Commission.
Well, controversy and corruption are issues that have followed Jacob Zuma for as long as anyone can remember, long even before he was president of the country. What seems to have triggered the unease of his party, however, is the election results this year. The ANC, which has dominated South African politics for 22 years, lost important, key, rich high budget towns and cities across the country in August this year, and with it a lot of their political capital. And I think this is what has caused some panic within the ANC parliamentarians, who can see their own power base is slipping away. The main corruption allegations this year have involved Mr. Zuma's private residence, which he upgraded rather lavishly, even though it is his own private residence where he keeps his vast family. And the Constitutional Court ruled earlier this year that he must pay back some of the money used to make those security or non-security upgrades to the property. And this was something that voters who, as you said, are struggling to find jobs, to keep roofs over their heads, and whose lives continue to be very, very difficult, find hard to square with a strugglist movement, the people who brought them freedom, but really have given them very few opportunities.
And as I said earlier, it's this political turmoil at the ANC that's prompted the ratings agency Fitch to drop its outlook. And it doesn't look good for the economy. What would the S&P rating expected next week?
No, the opposition party has put it succinctly. They say it's the politics that's killing the country. And Fitch was quite clear today, saying that it is the infighting with the ANC, the two camps, the pro-Zuma camp and the reformist camp, who are at loggerheads for the heart and soul and for the power of the party. And the result of it is that the economy is sliding away. And the person who was put in charge of boosting the economy and boosting confidence in the economy, the finance minister, was actually himself questioned on fraud charges only a few weeks ago. They've since been dropped. But it seems that the party's own inability to lay its dirty washing to one side really is going to cost the country dearly. Next week, we'll hear from another credit ratings agency and see what their verdict is on South Africa.
OK, Jane, thanks very much for that update. Jane Flanagan reporting from Cape Town. Terrorism, climate change and the recent election of Donald Trump as US president, those are the issues set to top the agenda at the Francophonie summit in Madagascar this weekend. The two-day talks bring together leaders and diplomats from the world's French-speaking nations, but also other countries that don't have obvious ties to the French language, such as South Korea and Estonia. Well, our correspondent Gaël Borgia reports from the Malagasy capital as the summit gets underway.
This summit is a rare opportunity for at least 30 French-speaking heads of state to gather and discuss major international issues like terrorism, development, and the environment. Francophonie is seen as both a diplomatic and economic tool, as French is the world's fifth most spoken language and third business language. The goal of this summit is to use French as a common thread that will help the 80 member states strengthen ties and build economic partnerships. And there have been real results. Just this week, Morocco and Madagascar signed 22 public and private sector agreements and deals. Meanwhile, Francophonie is especially important for France, as most of the world's French-speaking countries are in Africa and were part of its former colonial empire. So it's a way for France to maintain its influence on the African continent, as well as keep up good relationships with its former colonies. The gathering is also a unique opportunity for Madagascar to show the world that the country can pull off hosting such a big event. They're hoping it sends the message that the regime is stable, that the country is moving forward after 5 years of a political turmoil and an economic crisis following the coup in 2009.
Our correspondent Gaël Borjat reporting there. Next, the threat of attacks from Boko Haram is preventing aid from reaching Nigerian refugees in neighbouring Cameroon. That's according to the United Nations. Over the past 2 years, many Nigerians have fled the violent insurgency in the country's northeast. The UN Refugee Agency says it would like to do more to help, but can't get regular access to the region's refugee camps, where tens of thousands of Nigerians are living in dire conditions. Take a listen.
At the moment, and the critical urgent gap we see in all the IDP camps is the availability of food. And people could not cultivate in the last 2 years. Still, they don't have access to their cultivation areas, and there is no, all livelihoods have been lost. And that's where we see a high rate of malnutrition.
Spokesperson from UNICEF there. Well, campaigning is well underway in the Gambia, where incumbent leader Yahya Jammeh is the favourite to win next week's presidential election. He's seeking a fifth term in power. At a packed rally this Friday, he suggested that he'd put a stop to an exodus of Gambian migrants to the west. According to the International Organisation for Migration, Gambians form the largest group of migrant arrivals to Italy per capita. Meanwhile, opposition rivals Adama Barrow and Mama Kande hope to end Jammeh's 22-year rule when the country heads to the polling stations next Thursday. And finally, the Ashanti Kingdom of Ghana is mourning the death of the Queen Mother, Nana Afia Kobi Sowa Ampem II. She passed away at the age of 111 last week. In accordance with Ashanti customs, a one-week last rites ceremony is being held to honour the late monarch, who spent nearly 4 decades on the throne. Laurent Berstecker has the story.
Thousands of black-clad Ghanaians mourning the death of the woman many saw as their second mother. Nana Afia Kobi Serwa Ampem II, Queen of the Ashanti Kingdom, passed away at the reported age of 109 last week. After a period of national mourning, politicians and tribal chiefs converged to the city of Kumasi to attend the official ceremony.
She uses us to preach peace to our fellow citizens. Now, this is what the Ashanti Queen Mother says.
The Ashanti Kingdom spans over 10% of Ghana's territory and is home to an estimated 5 million people. The Ashanti tribe traces its lineage through the female line. The queen chooses and nominates the king. She also presides over a local court to resolve minor disputes. And while she doesn't wield any real political power, the queen is nonetheless considered one of the highest moral authorities in the country.
According to our tradition, she is the chief counselor. If Otumfo has any problem, he has to go and see her first before he can take a decision.
It will be up to the Ashanti king, Otumfo Osei Tutu II, to choose the next queen after the ceremony ends next week. Keeping in line with tradition, she will have to be a relative on his mother's side.
I'll be back in 45 minutes with more African news. Stay with us. Live from Paris continues with Thomas Waterhouse.